Hello and welcome to our brand new instalment of our new pod called North to South with yours truly, Craig, and Your Highness Tom over there. Say hello, Tom, so people can see you.
Hello, mate. You're all right.
Hey up.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? All right.
Just tumbleweed going across. So obviously, this is a new instalment of football podcast that myself and Tom are bringing to you. If you had any interest of anything we did before, you might have seen us on the We Gonna Win the League podcast, which we have looked to move to something newer because obviously that podcast was about three of us, and we felt continuing with that podcast wouldn't be correct because obviously it was the three of us plus James, and this is a me and Tom thing now, which we will have guests on the show. We will have James returning. If Dennis ever wants to speak to Tom again, we'll have Dennis returning. And there's a few of our subscribers and watchers from the last pod who I'm sure want to get involved. So, without further ado, this is the North to South podcast. And so let's get into it, Tom. We said we weren't going to, with this new installment of the pod, we weren't going to talk about his own teams as much, but it's only fitting that the first North to South pod starts with the League Cup final at the 22nd of March on Sunday, which the time of recording was yesterday.
Yeah.
This game was the start of Arsenal's quadruple dominance, the best team we've seen since the Invincibles 22 years ago. And in great Arsenal fashion, they lost 2-0 against Manchester City. Tom, I think you can agree Arsenal were the much better team in the first half. But that second half for Manchester City was just something else, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was really hoping for Arsenal to win yesterday. One, because I'm a massive fan, but two, because I knew that I was going to start this pod, and so I thought it'd be like a great way to start the new pod with Arsenal sort of winning the League Cup. But yeah, it was kind of shocking, really. Disappointed in how Arsenal came out in the second half. They just sort of collapsed, really out of character for Arsenal to be like that. Man City, they dominated, and they were very good at sort of the high press, and but Arsenal I think they panicked. I think I did speak to quite a few of my mates before the game, and I said that Raya should be starting that game because he's number one goalkeeper, but and all goalkeepers and all players make mistakes, but I do believe that if Raya was in goal, then I don't think he would have let that first goal go in and have that blunder that Kepa did. And that just led to Arsenal then being more nervous, and they kept on trying to do long balls, right?
Yeah.
And that was not working at all. And they did it time and time again. And me and my mate, James, who like you mentioned, were actually in the pub, and we were both saying that they need to try to control the ball, work it up in the way they normally do. But they just got scared after they let that first goal in, and then they just let it slip. I think nerves. I think the other thing that was disappointing for me was that Eze was not playing, unfortunately. Not quite sure still actually what happened. I mean, we guessed that he was injured or something like that because he was actually at the game but not on the bench. Very disappointing because he had sort of built up a bit of like a run in his past like 3-4 games, and he got confidence and he got to learn how the team play, and he was sort of getting to be quite a good playmaker. So I think that was another key player that I think if he was in, then they may have had the same flow as the past few games. But hey ho, it's one loss. On to getting the treble now.
So I've just been saying before we started this that I was looking through the old podcast videos we were doing, and I saw one that said when Tom said, "I think we're that good, we will win the quadruple. We will win it. We're that good." Obviously.
Well, but I mean, you must admit that it was out of character for Arsenal to just be like that, like in the second half. I mean,
I think
that was so out of character that it's almost like they gave up. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
there's a couple of things to this really. I think the second half for me was also because even before Kepa made that mistake, Man City were dominating. So I think
Yeah,
it
they
was
were.
the experience. I think on the biggest stage, Arsenal started quite well, and I looked at the if anything, Arsenal looked the better team in the first half.
Yeah,
That Man City team in the second half, I said to you after the game, they could play that game 10 more times and they wouldn't play that well again because they haven't been that type of team all season. They've been very hit and miss. And before Kepa's mistake, Arsenal just looked like, I don't know what Guardiola did tactically differently, but he kind of took the game into Arsenal's half a little bit more.
yeah.
And it forced Arsenal to go long. Just a question: is Kepa? Do you think has Kepa been used as a bit of a scapegoat a little bit? Because I mean, Ryan's made quite a few mistakes this season.
He has,
not a lot.
yeah, right.
And I think there was one where he came off his line a bit too much and the goal went in. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be like, "Oh my god, that is Kepa's fault." But do you think it's a little bit?
Well, so there's one argument that says that every player makes mistakes. So that's one argument, right? The other argument, though, is even though Raya has made a few mistakes this past season, he has had some absolutely stunning, like worldy saves on many occasions. I mean, my nickname for him is the Cat because he's like a cat. I mean, like his reflexes are just like so awesome. You know, I mean, like he is like the human version of a cat. So my personal feeling, is that I spoke to a few of my mates and I said, look, I think Raya should have been first playing goal for that game because it's the first cup to win. And the way I was seeing it was that it was a win to lead on to more confidence, to sort of go into the international break, and that takes the pressure off. That's one cup that you've got. That's why I think to sort of leave him out was a bit wrong. I think, so to scapegoat just Kepa, I think is wrong, but that was a blunder, and unfortunately, it was the area that he did it in. Because the other thing is, Ryan has made mistakes, but not often in a place where there's not a defender behind him, or there's not someone who like can come and save his bacon, you know. Whereas Kepa did it in a place where sort of he couldn't really have anyone to save his bacon. I mean, Zubs tried to get in, but he couldn't get in front of O'Reilly, could he? So,
and it was quite fitting that O'Reilly, given him being a Manchester boy, basically scoring both goals, he's really come on this season. I think he's somebody who, come the World Cup, I'd be very surprised if he wasn't starting at left back. He's matured. He's become a much stronger player than I think people thought he would be, and he scored quite a few goals this season. To get 2 against Arsenal is phenomenal for him and for grassroots football.
I agree with that. Yeah,
like you said, there's only 4 minutes between both goals. It was very unsettling for Arsenal to get a foothold in that game, back into the game. And once that first goal went in, you kind of saw that there could have been a third goal, I think, just after the second one went in.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah.
And let's not forget, I mean, Trafford as well. I mean, it's very much a coin because I think I've read somewhere that was it some sort of mind games Guardiola might have played, because he actually said prior, I think a few days before the lineups were announced, obviously because the lineups get announced an hour or an half before, that he actually said he would stay with Trafford in goal. you reckon that was a bit of a mind game to think, for Arteta to, stick with his goalkeeper who's played through the tournament?
I don't really know if I can read into that. I mean, Pep is known for his mind games, and he's always saying little things to try to wind him up, or to try and make him feel like the pressure's off, or that sort of thing. Like he said a few times that he thinks that Arsenal are going to go and win it, but like, is that just because he wants to try to make them think that way and think that they're okay and that sort of thing, and then they lose or they let it slip a little bit? There's something I wanted to mention though, is the sort of balance of the games. I mean, it's true that once that goal went in against Kepa, Arsenal, that definitely led the way to like the second goal and potentially a third goal. But in the first half, something I didn't mention was that we were playing very well, and Havertz got through onto goal.
Yeah.
And I think that, funnily enough, like the old issue with Gyökeres is we've been saying that he's not being good enough, or he's not gone up to the hype of what we thought he would be like at the start of the season. I mean, I personally think he has done very well, and he's scored quite a few goals, and I think that's the amount of goals that I think he's on 15, isn't he? Around that, I think.
In all competitions, yeah.
And I think that's around like an average, I think, of what we thought that like a minimum, and that would help us to sort of go and potentially win a season. But with that situation, I was thinking that if that was Gyökeres and not Havertz in that place, then like he might have dinked it over. But because Havertz is not natural sort of forward, perhaps that's where he should have been there. Like, it's like instead of Havertz there,
Yeah, you're right. I did think that.
And then if that had gone in, then like that would have probably changed the sort of tide of the game, And then Arsenal might have had the confidence to score another one, and City wouldn't have gone back into it. So. But yeah, it's one of those that's very disappointing, makes you angry, like just at the time and a few days after. But then you think, oh, we are first in the league, we are still in FA Cup, we're still in Champions League, and we got good runs where I think we've got teams that we can beat in FA Cup and Champions League. So
no, I agree with
nothing to worry about.
No, I agree. If Arsenal would have scored first, Arsenal are very good at holding leads and making it very difficult for a team to, get behind them. Especially a team like Man City, who play a lot of the ball across field. Again, very similar to Arsenal, trying to find little pockets of space, but Arsenal were very good closing those pockets, especially with the strong midfield in front of them. So Arsenal's quadruple dream ends. Tom, in a couple of words, as an Arsenal fan, did you think the quadruple was doable? Was that, or is it just a little bit of a dream?
No, what I had hope, and I thought that there was a small possibility that we could actually do it because we've just been doing so well, and we've been controlling games very, very well for the most part. I think we've lost like 3 or 4 games in all competitions like the whole season. I mean, that is just really impressive. So that's why I was really disappointed by the loss, because I thought if we win this, then that eases the pressure, it makes you more confident. And you've got that trophy that we haven't had for a long time.
Yeah.
So
I know you were a little bit nervous, like you mentioned. Just Guardiola is very good at. He's leaving it late if he is, but he's very good at coming back later in the season. I mean, there's only 7 games left. I'd be very surprised if Arsenal don't bag it now. Yeah. What's the feeling amongst the Arsenal fans?
No, I think that's quite similar. Yeah, I mean, most people who I speaking to, and like I watch some podcasts online, and sort of see fans on there, chat about it. And I think most Arsenal fans are saying that it's in the bag for Arsenal, but not definitely. But like thinking, yeah, that there's as you say, 7 games, and it would. So our next game, I think, is Bournemouth, and then it's at home. So I think that's a win. And then I actually think that we'll beat City in the league when we play them.
Yeah, I was thinking
Because
it might be a bit of revenge.
because we will come back and be angry about that game against them in the League Cup. So I think now we will come out. And often, I mean, during the league, so we've lost, I think, 3 or 4 games, and there's been a bit of pattern is that's been a bit of a wake up call. Sort of when we have lost those games, and then we've come back and we've had a good streak of winning, and then losing one, and then going back into winning. So I do think that Arteta and the boys out there will use it as fuel for the next few games.
Yeah. And like you say, the next game, I think Arsenal have is a FA Cup game, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
the Southampton.
Yeah.
We'll play Southampton, and then Champions League game, and then Bournemouth, I think it is. Yeah, so it's Sporting. We are playing in Champions League after the FA Cup, and then the weekend after is the league games again.
Yeah, that's good. So let's move on to the games from the weekend. So we've obviously talked about the League Cup. It's very disappointing for Arsenal. Very disappointing for yourself because, like you say, I think even I thought Arsenal will win it. I did actually say that on the day. In the day when someone asked me, I thought Arsenal would run away with it. But unfortunately, football is a cruel game. So we're going to move on to a top 4 setback, let's call it. Not the finest moment if you are a Liverpool fan, and not the finest moment if you actually still think Slot deserves to be in the manager's position. A 2-1 defeat away to Brighton. Yeah. Danny Welbeck scoring. Obviously, he's played for Arsenal and Manchester United, so we would absolutely love that. Liverpool's defences lapses and game management. It's just become a storyline each week. They can demolish Galatasaray and make themselves look like an absolute force, and then go away to Brighton and just make themselves look bang average. It's so up and down. If the team just cannot get any stability with weekday and weekend games, and they might go on to play the next game and actually thrash whoever they're playing, but it's really becoming a concern. But for Brighton, they continue to be like one of the most dangerous teams, giant killers. They've had a few good results this season, and not just this season, but in previous seasons where they just seem it's a hard place to go. Brighton is away, place to go. But from your point of view, it looks like Arsenal are going to become the new champions in 7 games in the Premier League. What do you make of this Liverpool season overall? And will Liverpool right to stay with Slot? Or do you think, I mean, he won't get sacked now. It would be ludicrous to sack him now, but do you think Slot will be in the hot seat come September?
So yeah, I mean, I think the one word is inconsistent, which has sort of marked Liverpool's season. I mean, I think also, I mean, the fact that you won it last season so comfortably, and then went to be so like the opposite. Like it was like the yin and the yang sort of thing, and I mean, defensively, the issues in the beginning were defensively, weren't they? And I think that sort of plagued you throughout. I think if you had if Liverpool had a better defensive lineup from the start, I think there's a saying that if you're a defensive team, then you're much more able to win the league than if you're just attacking team. So, but then you've also been blighted by injuries and the issue with Isak. I mean, I said it on the previous pod, as well as I'm going to say it now, is that I think that whole kind of situation with Isak was sort of rotten, basically from the start. And I think it was a bad thing that Liverpool actually went for him in the end because they got caught up in the rottenness of it all, and then he didn't do very well because there obviously was a big like black cloud over his head about sort of what he'd done, and he'd upset Newcastle fans, and so like he arrived at like Liverpool and like already had bad vibes, so and then very unfortunately broke his leg. And I mean, the fashion of how it happened, I mean, he scores and breaks his leg at the same time. I mean, it's so sad. I mean, I saw it happen. I was like, "What is that? Is terrible."
Yeah. And I totally agree, and I was very much the same. I remember a lot of Liverpool fans being as if signing Isak was the next best thing because they play a lot of FIFA. But let's be honest, that is not what Liverpool needed. There's talk about Richard Hughes, who was, I believe, he's like the head of the transfer committee, so he's a bit like a sporting director. He's the person responsible for transfers. Obviously, there's in this committee a lot of people have to say, but I think he's looking to leave to was it the Saudi League? So
right, yeah.
I think when you look at his legacy, I mean, he did a few good transfers. Vertu was a young player who will develop. But when you look at the Isak situation, and like you just said, Tom, Liverpool needed defenders. They left it very late to get Gay on the last game of the season. Why?
Yeah.
Why? What is that about? They lost into Manchester City, and Liverpool did not get any. I said this to someone at the weekend. Liverpool need to. I might be, football is not a game, but I feel like with the players they've got, they need to experiment with like the three at the back scenario where they could have like Canate, Van Dijk, and Robertson, and then Kirkes and Frimpong in those wing back positions. Because I feel like that's what Liverpool are missing. Going forward, Salah hasn't got his legs anymore, so move him into a more central role. But you've also got like Canate, Van Dijk, and Robertson then holding that back line. And obviously, nobody wants to see three at the back because sometimes you can be too defensive. But when you look at Liverpool's situation, you've got a lot of left backs or sided players and no enough in the middle. And unfortunately, Gomez is never going to be up to speed because he's never really got a run in, unfortunately. So Liverpool, there's nothing new about Liverpool. It's depressing to talk about. It's even depressing for other teams to talk about because it's getting boring at their inconsistency. And I think Liverpool will be very, no one wants to sack somebody. At the end of the day, it's someone's job. But I think with Xabi Alonso available, I think Liverpool really will be considering looking at that change. Will it come back before the end of the season? I don't think it will. It's too late now. Why would you, what is done is done. You can't get a new manager come in and change things within 6 games unless you're, and they're not going to have enough preparation. So I think Liverpool will stick with Slot. It wouldn't surprise me if FSG stayed with Slot because they are known to give a little bit more time. To Rodgers when he had a poor season.
I mean, I was going to say. Sorry, Craig, go on.
Yeah, so it's happened to Rodgers. He had a poor season. They stuck with him until I think September. They drew against Everton. It was 2-2, and then the next day, Klopp was announced as manager. So it would be surprised me if Slot is set before the end of the season, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's not there come the end of the first few games into the season if they stay with him.
Yeah, but I mean, It's strange. I mean, I sort of said, I think, a few times that I think Slot was quite lucky, really, to sort of take over Liverpool at a time where Klopp had done a very, very good job for you guys, and setting up a squad that was pretty much sort of cherry picked to be like just the top levels of excellence. And then Slot comes in, and then he does a little tweak to your tactics, and then he just wins it amazingly for you. And I often thought that's why that sort of happened, is teams then figured out those tactics, and then unfortunately the defense started to not be so good. But having said that, I think the one positive thing about Liverpool is Szoboszlai has been an absolute sensational player for you. I mean, his work rate, his passion, his drive. Every time you see him play for Liverpool, he's always trying his very, very best to like try and get you over the line, and that is like impressive, man. To see that, like, it's almost like a single-handedly sort of
he's kind of
trying to turn the tide for you. Like, it's like
he's taking on that kind of Lampard, Gerrard kind of number 8 role, where he's just all over the pitch. And unfortunately for him, I've said this many times, he's having the best season he probably will ever have played in a pool of a team. But unfortunately, it could be worse. Anyone who's been a Liverpool fan will know that there's been worse times than this. So I think at the end of the day, it's probably time for a new team to take it over. But I think the overreaction is, unfortunately, the season is over. And if anybody thinks we're getting further along in the Champions League, I think PSG is next. Good luck to good luck, because I tell you what, that could be painful for Liverpool,
Yeah. Talking about the managers, though, like, I mean, I don't really have a strong opinion about it, but I mean, I always think it's good if teams just give managers a chance to sort of try and turn things around. I mean, I think it's very unfair. The likes of Manchester United and Chelsea and Tottenham, and when they change managers like every sort of month or few months, I think that's just not. I mean, that's very indicative of a bad culture, in my opinion. Like, I mean, that's not the manager's fault. It's the board's fault. Something's going wrong at the club for that to happen, I think. But somebody who I've always really wanted to go on and manage Liverpool is a player that you just mentioned, Mr. Steven Gerrard. I mean, growing up, I used to watch him play for England, and he was my favourite player for England. And I've always thought that if he one day wants to be a coach or manager, then he should go to Liverpool, manage them. I think he'd be great. I mean, like, if you look at Carrick and Man United, like, if you see Gerrard, like, he might turn things around like a Carrick has for like Man United, Like,
to be fair, you might have opened a can of worms, and I never thought about this. I did think to myself, I can't see them sacking Slot, because what is the point of bringing in a new manager this way for the season? But I think if Gerrard did not go to Aston Villa, and he stayed at Rangers, or when he left Rangers, he kind of lingered a little bit. It would have been. I think he would have been offered the job on a caretaker role. But unfortunately, he went to Aston Villa. I think he was asked a question about his philosophy. He didn't actually know. He kind of realised he went from Rangers, where he was allowed to have a setup, to trying to save Aston Villa, and it wasn't very convincing. And then he went to the Saudi League, and considering they got all that money, again, wasn't very convincing. Unfortunately, I think those two roles have probably jeopardised that. I can't see Gerrard ever getting Liverpool position unless it's on a caretaker basis, where it's a bit like Carrick, where you know what, if he does well, could he take this on? I think if he stayed at Rangers, or he only had Rangers on his CV, where he did absolutely amazing, think he'd be in shoe in for it. But unfortunately for him, I don't think it's the right time at all anytime soon. And with Xabi Alonso out of a job, why wouldn't Liverpool be sniffing up that alley? Because he did an incredible job at Leverkusen. At the end of the day, he did a good job at Real Madrid, but Real Madrid's standards are that high. If you're not first in the league for 2 or 3 weeks, then questions are going to be asked of you. So talking about managers, this moves us along quite nicely to the next game I want to bring up is Everton versus Chelsea. For one, Chelsea obviously set their manager at the beginning of the season, brought in Liam Rossini, who has just been absolute comedy gold from a neutral point of view since taking over. Some of the things he says, I'm starting to think, is he on something? Does he like the sound of his own voice? He could write lyrics of how slow, and some of the words he uses are just so bizarre. It's just baffling. So obviously Everton beat Chelsea 3-0 the weekend. Absolute embarrassment for Chelsea. Everton just showed their maturity. I think Chelsea, I saw this on Match of the Day, Chelsea's average age is nearly 4 years difference. And you can see that, can't you, Tom? It's just physically, the intensity and the physicality of the players is just too much, I think, sometimes when Chelsea continue to swap and change. But I mean, I wanted to bring it up last week before we started the pod, but did you see when he did that bizarre thing about when the players were huddled around the ball on the pitch? Chelsea players were huddled on the ball, and the referee got in the middle of them.
Yes,
And honestly, like, I know he feels a little bit old now because it's been a week, but when you say about the words he comes out with, it's like respecting the ball. It's just, I want a dose of whatever he's on, because I tell you what, he must be loving life, respecting the ball and all that. So, why do you think Chelsea is so unpredictable this season, Tom? What is it just an age thing, or is it an hierarchy thing? What is it?
I think experience. I think that's probably what I put it down to. Yeah, like I think a lot of other you see other teams, and you've got a few sort of key players who are a bit more experienced in the league, have got a few more years behind them, that sort of thing, which I do think counts for a lot. I mean, it's great to have the energy, and like to have that pace. I mean, I can think back to when we played them, right, at Arsenal, and they came at us like, I mean, they had high energy and they were pressing high and they were doing all the right things. But then I think it is that experience that they lack. Because it's all good to have the high energy and that sort of stuff, but then you've got to have the know-how of how to sort of finish it, or like how to defend. I mean, I think that's the main issue this season, is defense again. I think for them, I mean, they're very good at going up, when especially their wingers, like Neto, and Palmer's good, but then Palmer's had a few injuries as well, hasn't he? So Palmer's like a class act, but he's been injured a few times this season, hasn't he? I think so. They've missed him as well.
From an outsider looking in, and I don't know what everyone else feels, I feel like he hasn't got hold of that team. I think they kind of dictate it. Every time I see interviews, and they're all, it looks very good that he has that good relationship with his players, but at the end of the day, he is their manager, and I feel like they don't respect him. Sometimes some of the things I see, like some of the press conferences or after the games, and I think he's continuously talking about taking the responsibility, which, a lot of managers say in the past, but some of these Chelsea performances just lack any respect for the fans. I don't think they really want him. I don't think they're convinced by him. I don't think they're sold on him. I think he's a bizarre manager. I just think, like, he'd probably be a good laugh to, have a drink with, because you could probably hear words you've never heard before coming out of his mouth. But other than that, quite dull.
Well, the other thing I mentioned though is like, I mean, I'm not sure if it would affect them, but I mean, they did win the FIFA World Cup, didn't they? Like just before going into this season, and a lot of people again are saying that I watch podcasts and I'm very into football, and like I talk about quite often. A lot of people have said that the way that the FIFA World Club is sort of being started is not going to be so good for football, because it means that they literally won't have any rest, because they'll go from the FIFA World Club and then they'll go into the season, and then the Euros, and then the World Cup, and then the FIFA Club World Cup again. And so a lot of people have said that it's fun to have to have that as sport and to watch for fans, but for the players, it might seriously mean that they have less of a chance in the season after to sort of go and perform. So
that's a good point, because
it could be that as well.
Yeah, and I know their model of football is really bizarre. I don't feel like people are talking about it a lot. Their model is to buy young players, like really young players, develop them.
Yeah, that's true.
But then also the reason why Rossini came in over, I forgot the manager for him.
It was was it Enzo? No.
Yeah, it was Maresca. Enzo Maresca.
Yeah.
Enzo Maresca was, we need a team to play. If they're playing well, keep the players. Whereas the management and the hierarchy wanted them to continuously change the formation, continuously bring in. And no one's talking about it enough. That does not work, especially in the Premier League. You need experience. You need a team who are stable, who understand each other, who you've got the back. You know when you can run, when someone's going to cover. Very much like Arsenal when, sprint and stay back. Chelsea haven't got that maturity in the squad, and the captain is very young themselves, Fernandez.
Yeah.
When James isn't playing, let's not forget that James has always injured himself.
Oh, James is great, isn't he?
Yeah, James is a fantastic player when he plays.
Fantastic player, and like hope he plays for England as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he's in our England squad. Yeah.
But what just finally before we move on from Chelsea, because I find that situation being Rossini in very bizarre, because again, something I don't think was talked about. Chelsea weren't doing too badly with Maresca. I think they were sitting third or fourth, comfortably winning some games. They weren't winning them all. But, when you've got young players like that, things are going to take time. You brought in a manager who was mid-table at Strasbourg, and he was more of a poet than anything else. He's just talks a load of... But, again, I don't feel like that's been talked more of. Maybe it's just me who's noticed that. But yeah, that is Chelsea, and unfortunately for Chelsea,
I mean, one more thing to add to that. I mean, I think that's kind of what I was saying before about when managers aren't given the chance to actually really try to succeed or try and put their mark on the game and try and mold the players in the way that they feel is the right way for the team to win. And I think it is a very sad thing that there's only a few teams, and I think Arsenal are sort of one of them, where the board have actually been happy to actually try and back the one manager to actually do that. It's the same with Man City and Pep, and it was the same with Liverpool and Klopp as well, I think.
Yeah.
Where they keep him for like a fair few years, because I think it's not realistic for like a board to just see their team not playing well, go, let's get somebody else new and shake it up and do all this stuff, because that ain't going to work very quickly.
And a good example of that is what I was going to move on anyway. It's Nottingham Forest. I mean, it never works for them. They've been not very good. They've been very inconsistent. But along comes Spurs, and it's free for all for goals. the only positive thing for Arsenal this weekend was probably Spurs losing again, not just by a couple of goals, 3-0 to Nottingham Forest. Honestly,
yeah.
I'm reading here one of the biggest.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's really.
Yeah, I'm reading here one of the biggest surprise results of this weekend. I don't see that as a surprise at all. I mean, Spurs. I feel like unless you're Liverpool, who can't win a game, or see off a game, are guaranteed to lose when they come up to somebody. They just look. I mean, both teams have had the fair share of swapping managers. I mean, as an Arsenal fan, Tom, Tottenham.
Well,
Or would you lose that rivalry where
that is exactly the point, Craig. Exactly the point. And I've with James and other mates I've had this discussion with, and most of them are saying that like it'd be great to like see them go down. But I think that we would miss that derby game, like because that atmosphere is fantastic.
I mean, you always beat them anyway, so. You always beat them anyway, so it's not like you're gonna, you're threatened.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. I just think that sort of that's a great one to either go see live or to just go in a pub, and then you can just sit next to like a Spurs fan and just like really give it to them for the whole game, I think that's just the best sort of games is to just try and blend in with the other fans in derby games, and you can really have a go and wind each other up and all that sort of stuff. It's great stuff. But at the same time, I think they will go down. That's my feeling. I mean, especially after losing 3-0 to Nottingham Forest. I mean,
Have they got West Ham? Well, have they got West Ham?
Yeah. So they're playing West Ham. I think that's their next game, actually, or like in a few games' time. But that's going to be the one where like if West Ham beat them, then then basically I think they are definitely going. Well, why not? Like definitely going down. But like then it's basically on West Ham's sort of side, and like it's theirs to lose, then, isn't it? Like because I think they're. Aren't they like equal points? Like
30. They're 1 point between them.
They're 1 point in between, yeah. So like if West Ham actually win all their games and beat Tottenham, then like then basically they are down Tottenham, aren't they? Yeah. So it's quite exciting.
It's quite exciting, but also
I mean, that though is like another sign of like a team. Like I've been doing a bit more research into Tottenham like more recently over this past season, and the club there also are a club that they're more. It seems like they're more a club that want to be driven by profit than actually care really about the football side of things at Tottenham. So, like, the owners are definitely really invested in trying to actually sort the culture, sort the players, sort the manager, and get a great thing going, because they have lots of stadium gigs and stuff at their club, and they're more for just money, aren't they?
Yeah, and you can go and visit the bird at the top as well, can't you? On an
island. So again, I think there's quite a few things that like we've chatted about tonight that is actually quite important in like football and like how it's run in today's world, isn't it? And we're pointing out quite a lot of flaws, and most of it seems to be in like the board level, doesn't it? Like so far from like what we've been saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
great. I mean, we've got through quite. To be fair, we're talking about the last pod to this pod. I feel like we've got a lot of content in here for this week. Just quickly, I'm just going to run over some of the other ones because we'll be here all day. Aston Villa strengthened their European push. They won. And then we obviously had the Newcastle, the Tyne-Ware derby, where Sunderland beat Newcastle 2-1. Which I think it kind of got drowned out by the League Cup, to be fair, that match did, because I feel like that's a game I would normally watch. But with the League Cup on, it was just in the background for me. But a fantastic result from Sunderland, a poor result for Newcastle, who just seem to keep dropping down the table. So what I want to come back onto now is little old Port Vale, my team, my bread and butter. These are the matches that build the foundation of English football we see today. The proper fans, the most ridiculous fans who pay the money to watch the team sit bottom of League One, ready for League Two. Obviously, Port Vale, since we have done this pod, we've just talked about the FA Cup coming up for the next, Arsenal's next game is in the FA Cup. So is Port Vale's against Chelsea. An away match against Chelsea at 5:30 on Saturday the 4th. A massive game for Port Vale, who just talking about Sunderland, took Sunderland to the cleaners, really. As a Port Vale fan, I was hoping for one of the big boys, which Chelsea are away, so you can have a good away day. But also, going this far, I was actually hoping to bring a team to Vale Park, because our pitch at the moment is like carpet. It is unbelievable. So I went to watch Port Vale versus Bolton at the weekend, and it was actually clear to see the amount of shots that just went over the bar and just bobbled because the pitch is that bad. It looks like when you've accidentally put a rug over your dog or your cat and you've accidentally crushed it. That's how bad the pitch was. It was just bobbling everywhere. So when a team comes to Vale Park, especially a team like Sunderland, who like to play that ball across the pitch, it was very difficult for them. But Tom, I'm sure I'll get tickets to the game. I do have enough points, but what do you think that is for Port Vale? And as an Arsenal fan, seeing a team like little old Port Vale, League One, bottom of the league, making it to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, the oldest cup, the most prestigious cup around.
Yeah, I mean, it's great news for you. Great news for Port Vale fans. I can only imagine the feeling inside your heart and soul, and because I have been to see some Port Vale games, and the atmosphere there is fantastic. The fans are great. The locals are all super up for it. Football is part of the culture here in Stoke-on-Trent, and Port Vale are by far the better of the two teams here in Stoke. So
he knows his stuff. He knows.
There we go. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you actually came and watched Port Vale host Arsenal.
Yeah.
Near the beginning of the season. Arsenal dominated that game possession wise, but Vale were very, very dominant and holding the line. I'm not saying they were dominant in the game. Let's not get carried away. Arsenal by far the better team. But what a crazy season. I mean, this is our 150th year. We've got a fantastic strip. We've got a fantastic fan base. We had a fantastic team at the beginning of the season. We had a terrible manager at the beginning of the season who only played defensive football. But what a roller coaster the season's been to get Arsenal in the League Cup, to get to the quarterfinals in the FA Cup, beating Sunderland, Bristol City, who before Sunderland, who were in the Championship. But to sit bottom of the league, just just last week we struggled to beat Blackpool. We were 2-1 up. We ended up losing 3-2. Yeah, we go against Sunderland and beat them 1-0 at home. So I'm excited for the semi-finals of the FA Cup. I would love to play Arsenal again if they made it into the semi-finals. Obviously, the semi-finals are at Wembley now, so I can only dream. I don't want to get too excited, but how Chelsea are playing, if you wanted one of the big boys for an away day experience, but you also fancy your chances, I think Chelsea. I mean, they struggled against Wrexham, didn't they? Chelsea had Wrexham in the previous, and I watched that game.
Yeah, me too.
Chelsea, the end of the game, the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the game, Chelsea just were dominant.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, Wrexham had them worried a few times.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit about Port Vale, which we're going to bring more content on this time round. Let's not forget Port Vale. To be fair, it's quite fitting that you're an Arsenal fan. I'm a Port Vale fan. The podcast is north to south.
Yeah.
And not only that, the only two teams in the top English system named not after a place are Arsenal and Port Vale. So
yeah,
what an absolute coincidence. And a pub question.
That's a great little,
and a little pub question for
great little bit of history right there.
Who didn't know? Yeah, Tom, this is our first pod, so obviously we're going to look at more content ideas, and what I will want to bring back from the old pod is our hero to zero.
Yeah.
And it needs a better name than what we did previously. So if anybody's watching, if you can think of a name, let us know. We're more happy to take recommendations. Let's just start with hero to zero. This is where we pick our hero of the week, someone who's actually who's been the standout player, manager, fans, referee, and the zero, the person I think who Tom's is going to be, but the zero is the most, most poor performance or poor decision or poor goalkeeping. And I apologize.
Nice little hint there.
And I apologize for using the word hero because now I've said it a couple of times. It sounds like the most.
Well, in the previous pod we said Howler and what was it?
Howler
of the week and star player, like the MVP.
It just sounded like a 4-year-old written words down to be chosen. We will get better at this, don't you worry. So Tom, let's start with the easy one. Who is Andrew Howler of the previous weekend? I want to hear it in words.
Well, now you make me feel quite self-conscious about saying this one because of what we just spoke about. But I think it will have to be Kepa. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've already told us why he had it.
Yeah.
He was a little bit too short for that.
Unfortunately, I mean, look, when a goalie, you either have to make sure that you clear it. That's it. I mean, like when the ball comes towards you, you have to either hold on to it or clear it far enough for it to go beyond the attackers, and he did neither. And that's basic for a goalie, isn't it?
Let's be honest, Tom. Just leading on to that, there was a moment where he fouled. His positioning was very bizarre, and the second half. And didn't he foul? Did he foul the player just outside the area?
Yeah. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Free kick. So thinking about it now, I can see now why Arsenal fans said he shouldn't have been stopped.
Yeah.
And who was your player the weekend?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's more difficult because Arsenal didn't win, so it's hard to.
There were 72 other teams in England and about 1,000 goals. So,
there are a lot of teams, yeah.
Just biased over here.
Yeah. Let's ask you what your Howler of the week is, and then I'll think about it. Yeah.
So bad at this. He's so bad. It's only Arsenal. So my Howler of the week has to go to Arteta for picking Kepa.
Oh dear.
No, the Howler of the week is got to be I think. Yes, it's Liverpool, but not for the reason of just losing against Brighton, for going on holiday about 4 hours later for a little holiday while the internationals are on. No, when you're really struggling to get Champions League football and the focus is all on you, you would think you would stay behind and do some, work with your coaches to see what we can do better just before your holiday. No, this guy got his passport and went, wants to go bloody Ibiza with David Guetta and a whale of a time. So he's my Howler. For the hero, from the Port Vale side, for anyone who actually likes league football, it's got to be George Hall, who scored the only goal against Bolton. Bolton were pushing for the playoffs in League One. Port Vale sitting bottom of the league, come along, and George Hall scores a fantastic goal. But that's my personal choice. If I'm going to go for what everybody else would think, it's got to be O'Reilly, because not just for winning the League Cup, let's be honest. I mean, he's a Manchester lad, probably his dream to have this moment, and it's the fifth League Cup now for Manchester City, and hope, I think I hear the commentator saying this will probably be known as the O'Reilly final. So, quality. Tom.
There we go. Right. So my hero of the week, I thought about this, and this is for our departed colleague.
Which one?
My hero of the week is Welbeck.
Yeah. I wonder why. Yeah,
so this is for my departed colleague to sort of give him a bit of something to smile about.
Hey, to be fair, that's a good shout. Well, back at his age, 2 goals against Liverpool. I feel like he's been around since I was still at school. Quality. Tom, is there anything else we need to bring up, or do you think we've got a little whole natter about the old week's football?
I think that's been very interesting, and it's been lovely to sort of come back on and chat about football, and I've missed it for the past few months. I really missed this time of just talking about all things football, and I look forward to doing this again and again and again and again. So onwards and upwards. Yeah.
Onwards and upwards. And we did say this first one would be I think this first one we have talked more about more of the games that have come along, but I do think we could do a little bit more engagements, quizzing, things like that. So we will find his feet on his own little pod, because obviously the last pod it wouldn't be right to carry on with that one. That was a different tone, different hosts, different people joining, which we'll always welcome back if they want to come on as a guest. But you're not going to get that 3-way, 4-way banter that you got before. So that's the reason we've moved it on. But yeah, we will increase it. I've got loads of quizzes we can do. This has been great. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Who is unfortunate to watch it, but also fortunate to watch it. You've been a pleasure to speak to. And Tom, I'll see you next week for another chinwag about the football.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the fans, and I look forward to speaking to you next week.
Adios.